Most of you by now know that I work at VIP Mortgage. A lot of you may not know why or how I got there. For us as LOs, we have a lot of options, and for me, VIP Mortgage was the perfect fit, the best place, in my opinion, to work. So if you have any questions about VIP Mortgage as an LO, or if you are a consumer and you're looking for a mortgage, you can reach out to me on social media, or you can reach out to anybody else that you may know at VIP Mortgage. And our website is vipmtginc.com. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Real Talk with Ryan Madrid. First of all, I want to thank VIP Mortgage again for letting us have this great space in the office here on Via de Ventura. I want to thank my nephew here who does the engineering for us here, and my sister who does the podcast production, Trisha Madrid.
Woohoo.
Sometimes I screwed that up, by the way.
A lot of times he just says my sister.
Yeah, so I have to say her name as well. So. But she does the podcast production and all the social media for the Crawford team at VIP Mortgage. I shouldn't say all of us, but for our main page and for mine. So as you all know, we do this podcast to bring people from the community in, and it's not just about loan officers and realtors. We like to have people doing really cool things in the community as far as, and developers as one. And we have Jason Boyer here from Boyer Vertical. And we're going to talk a little bit about his current project and some of his other projects that he's done in the past. But before we get into that, we'll just get a little bit into who you are and where you came from, because people want to hear a little bit about the stuff and how you got here and where'd you get, what caused you to do what you're doing. So we know you're from Illinois, correct?
True that.
So it's Rockport, Illinois. So where's that at in Illinois?
Rockford, actually.
Rockford.
So
My bad.
Here's a little story for you. So Rockford is the second largest city in Illinois.
Okay.
Right, but it's like up by the edge of northern Illinois.
Okay.
And anyway, I grew up there, but I always used to identify when I moved to the West Coast, I would always identify I'm from Chicago.
Right.
You know, major metropolitan center. Everybody knows it. Well, it turns out everybody knows Rockford, too, because it's on the way from Chicago to Wisconsin, which Wisconsin is a major kind of, boom town.
So a lot of people live in Wisconsin and come across the border to go to work.
And they zoom right by Rockford.
Okay.
Right? And it's still that way today. Not much reason to go.
So were you more of a fan of like Chicago sports or Wisconsin sports?
Oh, I was split, man.
Okay, this is a fair question.
This is tough, right? Because I had two.
Yeah.
Mom's side of the family was Chicago Bears. Dad's side of the family was Packers.
Yeah. Okay. So dad's Wisconsin, mom's Illinois.
Yeah. So
that's a tough one.
Yeah.
So what is it?
So I prefer the Packers.
Okay.
I do. I prefer the Cubs over the White Sox.
Okay. That's a big Illinois thing, right? You got the South Side versus the North Side.
That's right. But Cub games are way better entertaining.
Oh yeah. No, I actually went to a Cubs Pirates game, and then went to Monday Night Football against the Chiefs Packers.
Oh yeah.
That was a good trip.
Awesome.
Yeah, that was a good trip. I got some buddies they're from a small town called Coal City. Have you ever heard of that?
No.
Nobody ever has. Twin brothers. One's a White Sox fan. One's a Cub fan.
Coal City.
Coal City is a farm town, but everybody. I swear I've never had anybody answer that they knew where it is. But they're a whole group of friends. They're all from this small. They all went to Eastern Illinois University. But
is this Adam and Alan?
Yeah, Adam and Alan. Adam and Alan Wills, legends.
Huh.
Well, I tried. So anyway, so you grew up there, and then you went to University of Illinois?
Yeah, you went to U of I for school, got out of Rockford, went to another, cow tip in town, Champaign-Urbana.
Yeah.
So spent, 4 years there, and
What is Champaign? So what is? So University of Illinois is a good school, by the way, for everybody who doesn't know that. I think a lot of people don't know about University of Illinois that grew up in Arizona. But what is Champaign like? I mean, is it really?
It's
really
classic college town.
Okay.
It's sort of like Tucson in many ways.
Smaller
Except
town.
it's farming instead of defense contracting.
There
right?
you go. That's right. So you left there. So you got an undergrad degree in architecture.
Yep.
Okay.
You got it.
And then what?
So I was getting set to graduate, and I had applied to grad school. I was on my way to grad school. Had got into a couple different schools, and was kind of going through some family challenges. My dad was sick. He had leukemia, and long story short, he ended up passing. And so I stayed in Rockford. And put some time in with the family and help my mom kind of make that transition. My sister was just going to be a freshman at Iowa State, so I stayed home and got a job as an architect, making $8.25 an hour.
What?
And I
As an architect?
As an architect, my first job, right?
Okay.
Out of school, $8.25 an hour,
Wow.
and then I bartended 3 nights a week.
This is like the early 90s, mid 90s?
This is 1994.
Okay.
1994.
Damn. Seems like you should be making more
$8.25.
money than
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That doesn't seem right.
Yeah. Well, it's
So how old were you
story's
then?
a
Were
little
you
better
23?
now. I was probably 22. I was young for my age when I went to college, so I graduated as a senior. I was 17, and
How old was your dad?
young guy, 50. He had just retired. Actually, he was 55. Had just retired.
Wow.
Parents were both school teachers, and anyway, it's one of those things. What really sucks about it is, it was the point. I don't know how you tell me how you are. I sort of felt like I was finally at that point where I was really wanting to hang out with my parents again.
Totally.
I feel like there's a point where you're like, you don't want to spend any time with them, and they're
I just
no
got
good.
chills, by the way.
Yeah, I did too.
Right?
Our dad was 57.
Oh,
But
so-
so I agree with you on that because I was hanging out with my dad all the time when he died. He was 57. We were working together.
Yeah.
But I didn't really want to hang out with my dad until probably in my 30s, as much as because we started it was more work, and then I started having kids and stuff, but yeah, like we were like besties when he passed. So I get it. Yeah. Completely.
So yeah, it sucks. I still,
Yeah.
I missed that whole part. Where it's like you sort of come back to the nest, whatever you want to call it. Like you want to like hang.
Yep.
And I missed that part.
Yeah, it's a bummer, dude.
Yeah.
You can't come back for like Christmases and hang out and do all that sort of stuff. And
Oh, it's just different. 'Cause
Totally.
then
Your mom's still-
my mom's still
Yeah.
there. She eventually got remarried.
Oh, okay.
Went through that. It's just
that's a whole nother
everything's different.
whole nother episode.
I mean, good, different, whatever,
Yeah.
different. It's just different, right?
Totally. So what led you to be able to finally go, okay, I'm gonna after a year, like, okay, it's time, I can get out of here?
Yeah, I kind of felt like I needed to put in some time, but I had a path. I knew what I wanted to do, and I felt I needed to do this as part of it, and it was a temporary sort of thing. And then, put the year in, and then I was ready to go. So I ended up coming to Arizona for grad school, and ASU is where I went get my master's, and I chose ASU because, frankly, when it was Illinois, Michigan, ASU, Berkeley, and UT Austin. Those are my choices.
Those are really good choices,
So-
by the way.
And not cheap.
Three like
Elite.
get out of here choices, right? And Michigan and Illinois, awesome schools, great, great football games, great party
UT
schools.
Austin.
But I ended up going west because one, I wanted change. I was tired of the weather, and Austin had a killer scene going on. California was too expensive, and it was awesome to get in, but it was like, nah, it's not gonna work. So I ended up going to ASU because I got a teaching aid position.
Okay.
They basically gave me the most resources.
Okay. How did ASU rank as far as like the quality of school for what you were trying to do?
It was good. The architecture program was, the graduate program in particular, was really highly ranked at the time. And so, you know, look, I mean, I look at it as like, you know, I was at Illinois and I worked for a year. It forced me to change, right? And then I went back to school, forced me to change again, right? It's like academics and real world, very different thing, right? And then eventually when I got done, you know, you're changing again. So in a period of, 5-6 years, you go through a lot of stuff, and I think all those things help. You know, they help mature you as
they shape
whoever you're going to end up being.
So when you went to ASU, you became a teacher and a student?
Yeah, so I was basically, part of my job as a grad student was to teach undergrad students. So there'd be a professor, and I'd be like the helper.
Okay.
Right.
I was going to say, how the hell did you know how to do that? Like right away.
He's like, I did.
You just,
so you just help the teacher?
yeah, you just kind of help them. Yeah, and then they give you a little bit off your tuition. And then when I got out of grad school, they offered me a teaching position. So then I started teaching second year full-time. Not full-time. You know, I worked in an architecture firm. I taught students, did that for 5 years or so, and then I stopped just because my professional career was kind of taking off, and you know, I didn't have the time, the luxury of time anymore like I did early on. Did
you go right into a firm when you graduated, or how'd you do it?
I did. I had in between my 2 years of grad school at ASU, I got some scholarship award and worked in a firm in between those 2 summers. And then that same firm offered me a job when I got out of school. So I started there, worked there for a couple of years, and then left and went to a different firm shortly after that.
So the development side of things, then, how long did it take before you decided, like, okay, I really want to start building things and developing things instead of just designing them?
So, I mean, look, I've been an architect for almost 30 years, so the bulk of my career is that. I remember back to the days, my parents built 2 houses. I remember my dad building out the basement, and, I was helping him, and, so he was always kind of crafty. Even he was a school teacher, but he was, crafty, did stuff. And so, I don't know, I probably had the bug from that somehow, some way. And when I came to Arizona, I bought my first piece of real estate. So I bought a $70,000 condo. Actually, it might have been 55, Papago Park 2.
Oh my gosh. I used to live in the apartment complex adjacent to that. A bunch of my friends lived in Papago.
Yeah. So it's like the epicenter,
That was
it was.
Oh,
that was a great place to live.
Yes.
So I think I got in, my mom put the down payment down. I paid the, payments from my tuition and, then sold it, and then I bought a house. And so I've always I got into real estate early, kind of at a smaller scale. And, along the way, I did a few, houses that I bought and flipped, and, I would build the stuff myself because I was dangerous enough to do it.
Right.
And, just...
So you'd come in, like, literally do the labor yourself?
I would build a lot of it.
Wow.
Yeah.
How the hell did you have time for that? Weekends? After work? You find it.
I mean, when you're young and dumb, you do whatever you think you can do, right? And you don't you don't reach for a glass of whiskey every night like I do now. Like gotta numb the pain.
Right.
So things are different then. You get more energy.
Totally.
But anyway, that's kind of where I got the bug initially, and then I had a few important clients along the way. That were developers. I'm their architect working for them, right? And just I saw the influence that they had over projects, and I saw the lifestyle chases they were able to make as a result of some of the risks they've taken. Look, it's high risk, high reward, And
were you the designer or the architect on any of like the big buildings in town, like big commercial buildings?
So, I mean, I've done a handful of projects, institutional, residential.
Okay.
But I'll say the largest project that I did as an architect was the you'll know this when I say it, the Centerpoint condominiums project.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Right. It went BK back in the last recession with the whole mortgages unlimited disaster, and but that I mean, it was 1 million square feet, big deal.
Yeah.
And I really cut my teeth on that, and the client on that was these Avenue Communities guys, Ken Losh, David Dewar, and they were really great to me. In a small way, somewhat of a mentors. And I always had good experiences with them. I think probably because I busted my ass for them.
Right. That's cool.
But that's my biggest project that I've done in town. I've done a variety of other scaled projects, office
stuff. Like was it like mainly commercial stuff though, or was it residential as well, or apartment?
It's mostly commercial, educational. I've done a lot of work at ASU, U of A, NAU. Okay. Did 6 projects up at NAU.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. Okay. Did the new wellness center up there years ago. Opened in 2011.
Okay. I graduated from there in 97.
97. Yeah, so you remember what it was.
Oh, yeah.
You should go check it out.
No, I did. I went for the first time in like 20 years last year because my son went up there. And I couldn't believe how nice the campus was in comparison to when I went to school there. The forestry building was like the newest, latest, and greatest thing.
Yeah.
And that was way on the south side of campus. But if you walk in like the central campus now, it's like nothing like it was when I was there. It's super, I wouldn't say state of the art, but it is for NAU compared to what it used to be.
It's seriously improved. Right?
Seriously improved.
Yeah.
So many nice new buildings and way more. I don't know. It looks a little bit more urban,
like modern element that did not exist back in the 90s.
Yeah,
but the charm's still there though, which is kind of cool.
You get a little bit of both.
Yeah.
You've got the elevation, the cooler weather, the outdoor lifestyle, and and now the university's really invested in upping its game.
Yeah.
And so it's a great place.
Yeah, I mean, I loved going there, and I still would go there. I think if I had the choice between any of the 3. It was such a great place because, like you said, the weather is insane, and it's just a cool town.
Yeah.
If you wanted like the city life, then definitely don't go there.
Go to Tempe. You
go to ASU.
Right. You got. I think you got to kind of know what you're looking for. To go to NAU.
For sure. Right. I mean, my son's back, so he didn't like what he saw. So, yeah, it was a one and done.
One and done.
Yeah. I think he'll be on to ASU.
Yeah.
Which is fine. Which is good. I started at ASU and I switched to NAU.
Yeah.
He was there literally last year. During COVID, he was in the dorms. It was not good. Like never went. He never had one in-person class, so that's probably why he's home. Well, I know that's why he's home. It was just not a great experience in that capacity, but he was sure excited to go there when he first got in. So, but I understand. But all right, so let's talk a little bit about your first. So the artHAUS. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, so look, artHAUS.
Where's it at exactly, by the way, so people know?
It's midtown Phoenix, so it's crossroads between downtown and uptown, and it's tucked behind the Arizona Opera, which used to be the old Walsh Brothers Furniture Building. So McDowell and Central, right? And Lennar built this big 600-unit apartment deal there, and artHAUS is tucked behind it.
Okay.
I actually started construction before they did.
Oh, you did?
And then I had to deal with all their crap.
Did you know they were going to do anything there?
I did after we were like far down the path, and so I couldn't really react to what they were doing.
Right.
And I asked them to make a few changes, and they gave me the big smile, and we're going to keep going.
No, we're Lennar.
Yeah.
What's your name?
Cool. They gave me a few entertained. Oh yeah, we'll meet you with you.
Right.
You want us to do what? No.
Yeah.
We're pretty sure you'll like it the way it is.
Yeah.
So artHAUS was. artHAUS was created somewhat out of necessity. I was leading a national architectural practice downtown. Been doing that. I was traveling all around the country, working my tail off for these guys. You hear about these stories occasionally. I have one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm on the way to a partner meeting in Los Angeles, get off the plane. I have this like text from one of the other partners. Oh, you need to come to the office.
Oh boy.
And I'm like, no, that's okay. I just got here. My flight was late. I'll just meet you at the hotel where we were having this powwow. And so I just went there, and then the admin person comes in. I'm in the room full of like 30 other partners. This gal comes in. She's like, oh, you need to go over here and, talk to these guys. So
I'm getting nervous.
So I literally, the office was just like 3 blocks down the
Yeah.
street. It was in Avenue of the Stars in LA. So I marched down. I'm like, oh fuck, I know what's going on.
Right.
Anyway, it was like the classic. There's the 2 guys you don't really like that are against you, and then the HR chicks on the phone in Buffalo, and
Yeah.
So anyway, that started. It's the bottom of the recession, 2011 December. You're right. It's holiday time. I'm just had a kid, and Arizona's like the math's bad, right? Because numbers are way down. There's a little bit of work, and people are struggling, and so artHAUS was born out of that moment. I didn't know it at the time, but 6 or 8 months later came the opportunity. I think it actually was April. Don Kuth, who's the former PCA, Phoenix Community Alliance director, a guy passed away a few years ago, but he was an awesome person, great at connecting dots, knew my situation, introduced me to the site, knew I had some skills and was maybe just dangerous enough to do something silly. And so he pointed me at this thing, and I looked at it, and I'm like, yeah, I'm interested. I'm going to do this, right? So I came up with a scheme, went to him. He connected me with the Phoenix IDA.
Oh, yeah.
I'm doing it again. Yeah. I'm getting excited.
I love the excitement.
Want to sit on your hand?
I don't care you're doing it, to be honest with you. Trey probably is the only one that does.
Trey's like, I got to take every one of those folks out in post-production.
This is all your problem. Sorry, buddy.
I have a habit of doing this myself. So.
I hear
Especially my watch. I'm not wearing a watch because I would go, ding, ding.
So, anyway, artHAUS was started out of that kind of moment of like, hey, I need to figure out what to do. And figuring out what to do was either my wife and I had spent, 20 years here. That's where our careers were. I guess at the time it was a little less than 20 years. We just had a baby. Do we, pick up and move everything just so I can get a big job somewhere else? And there were opportunities. We could have gone to San Francisco, LA, Atlanta. And there's just the math was bad. It didn't make sense to go to a higher cost of living market when, you're selling your house for, pennies of what you paid for it. And so anyway, we stayed. artHAUS became figuring it out, right? So with Don's sort of advocacy, he helped me find the site, and I created a concept and ultimately pitched the deal.
What was like the inspiration behind the concept, though? And like,
look, as an architect,
Hold on one second. Everybody who doesn't know what this is, you need to go online and look at this. Does it have its own website? Because
we do. The website's still up, so it's arthhausphx.com. So
that's ArtHAUS.
ArtHAUS.phx.com. Yeah.
So super cool, like way different than anything I've seen.
Yeah.
So check it out. Anyways, sorry.
So, maybe what's different about it is, look, it's an architect-led, it's a design-led development. And so that's kind of how I've positioned myself. And, in my career, I've always been a design-oriented person, but I think of myself also as having a pretty strong business sensibilities, which isn't always the case for architects. I think it's something that sets me aside over here from the conventional, and that combined skill set is what allows me to do things like artHAUS and, ultimately what I'm doing now,
right.
moving on to more vertical.
Would that be because of you understand like the math, the finances? Is that what's going to separate you, or is it going to be the ability to like communicate with people?
It's just like, you got to realize like first of all, you got to be good with people.
Yep.
And I'm only an extrovert when I need to. I'm generally an introvert, but I had to play an extroverted role throughout most of my career because I've been kind of, in key relationships with clients and stuff like that. But I don't know, where was I going?
The business side of things.
The business side, yeah. So I've always felt I have a strong understanding of like good design can be good business, and you can't have good design unless you pay attention to the business.
Yeah.
That makes sense?
Yeah, for sure.
So you can't just go and like, throw anything in there and then like, oh, I'm going to sell it now. And, well, now you need to sell it for $700,000 a unit because of the choices you made. And the market only supports something that's at 450.
Right.
Oops. Right. Now look, first of all, you're never going to get there because you won't get financing.
Right.
So you got to go through all that stuff. And look, I don't have a background as, I didn't go to business school. I barely knew how to put a performer together. I learned while I was going, right? It's like, drink as you go.
Did you have to get down as deep as like knowing like the plumbing and like what I'm trying to get is like you're talking about costs, right? And so you have this idea of what you want it to look like, but in order to make it look like this, you could do it 2 different ways or 3 different ways, right? And then you have to go, okay, well, I'm going to use this product here because I know it's going to cost less. And it can make it to where it's going to be $450 a square foot instead of this. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, you always you have to be willing to make trade-offs, and you have to understand where there's value, and you want to put the money in the places where there's the most value.
Yeah, right.
It's choices. It's all choices, right?
Right.
So
fixtures versus like the inner walls.
Well, I mean, look, that's if you don't do that right,
yeah,
then everybody's pissed at you because I can hear my next door neighbor being friendly at night and blah blah blah. That's no good either.
Yeah,
right. And I can't as an emerging developer, I can't afford to make mistakes like that. Every project is my next best project. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah. So when did you know that you were gonna like have this project was gonna be like super successful and the people were gonna be like loving it and giving you like so much praise and awards and stuff for this thing? I mean, you know what I mean? It's like, did you know before you even built it? You're like, oh, this is gonna be a good one.
No.
Okay.
No, I mean, look, I'll tell you this. artHAUS was a pretty big risk for me because I signed a $5 million personal guarantee. My wife and I didn't have $5 million in assets at the time, but we,
found it.
We somehow figured it out. Yeah. Sure, through resilience and tenacity. And you learn as you go, and I think I had expectations that were quickly dissolved into reality.
Yeah.
Which was, I thought, oh, everybody's going to love this. And everybody loved it, but the price point at the time was still higher than what the surrounding market was. And it wasn't 2021.
Right.
Things weren't flying off the shelf. Condominium was like a long, curse word.
Right.
Few developers were doing it.
Yeah.
The multifamily market hadn't taken off yet downtown. So I was probably maybe couple of years too early, but I was too dumb to know the difference, and no matter what anybody else told me, this is what I was doing, in part because I felt I had to. This was like my way out, right? And so I felt like artHAUS was my way of getting back to zero. And what I mean by that is, I spent 2 or 3 years of virtually living off of very small level of savings to kind of work through this stuff. Started my own architectural practice. Fortunately, I had a couple of past clients that wanted to work with me, right? So it's like, your best work is the project you're doing now, because if those people are happy, they're going to take care of you. So you take care of them and it all pays itself back. So I had that situation come forward, and, the combination of that is how I sort of got artHAUS done, and then it took longer. It just took longer. The market took longer. It took a year longer to sell it. I mean, I remember I had to get one extension on my loan. That was super painful. It felt like, $37,000 of, 1 point of the outstanding balance. It was like, oh my God, I'm like scraping the barrel to find the money. I had investors, but I made the choice not to do a cash call with them I'm like, this is my responsibility. I created the situation. Yeah. I'm going to fix it. Right. So, long story short, the project performed really well. We had a little bit of price escalation that offset the additional interest carry. It took 1 year longer to sell. And my investors get the same money I told them they would. It just, the IRR got diluted a little bit.
Right.
And they're all really happy.
That's what I was going to ask. So you consider it was a success? Obviously, from the architecture side, it was a success. But from your investors getting involved,
look, 4 out of 5 of them are in the next deal.
Okay. Well, there you go.
I feel good.
Yeah.
That I, have their confidence.
Yeah. No, that's good.
They're along for the ride again. And architecturally, I think it's super successful. Everybody lives there, loves it. They feel like they're stewards of this building that is unique, and
they're lucky to be living there and think it's the cool.
For me, that feels good. Right?
Yeah, for sure.
It's cool. It's cool.
So it's actually, I wanted to ask a question related to that. Being in close proximity to, Phoenix Art Museum, the Opera House, did you attract kind of an artsier crowd, or your buyers? Were they clearly they were looking for something different than the people buying in Queen Creek and Goodyear, right? I mean, they wanted.
You think?
Well, no. I mean, I come from Buckeye, so I'm saying, but obviously they compromised on that, square footage to get the experience of living in Midtown.
Yeah, I mean, I can't tell you how many people we talked to that this was like they were toying with the idea. They were going to move in from Chandler or wherever, and then like, oh, we're going to rent first.
Yeah.
And so, it was, I mean, look, here's what you can count on, that normally who you think the buyer isn't necessarily who it's going to be. Like you can have these market studies done, and they're often not always true.
So it's like it's a mixed bag of people that are living there. You have no idea.
It's a little mixed. I thought I was going to have young professionals and kiddie condo buyers, guys like yourself, and they're sending their kid to ASU downtown. And what we got was mostly second home buyers that live and work in multiple places. I'd say half the people live and work in multiple places that live there, and they like the lock and leave security. They like being downtown, close to light rail. They love the design. They bought because of the design. Design was the differentiator for them.
Yeah.
But you don't always know. And it's a different market.
What was the price point on that?
So we were below $300 a square foot on urban product. Wow. And, the smallest units were the most expensive per square foot, and the biggest units should be the opposite, right? But it never is, right? So we ranged from 600 square feet to a little over 1,900 on the unit size.
Okay.
And I think, the little one sold first. Wish I had more smaller units at higher cost per square foot. Would have killed it. But the market study said otherwise.
Right.
The biggest one was maybe 550.
Okay.
Which, like, today you're like, that's it?
Right. Well, I mean, it's still pretty good. In that area downtown, I don't even know where the price point per square footage is down there. Is it skyrocketed?
Willow has skyrocketed.
Really?
And, we always looked at, I said I'm insulated because I have the Willow location, which is, the most affluent, respected downtown historic neighborhood. And, the stuff in there now is going for, $750,000 to $1.2 million. And so all of the artHAUS units have appreciated. And,
I mean, that teeters on Encanto as well, right? Or
right. Encanto's a little bit further.
it's like
Further west.
7th Ave.
Yeah. And Encanto
7th,
was.
and then even west of that. It
Yeah.
starts at 7th, right?
Yeah.
And then goes west to like 12th,
Yeah. It goes 15th.
15th.
Borders 15th. And I know this because I used to live in poor man's Encanto.
Was it Laurel, or what was the street? That's
It was called Fairview Place,
okay.
which is Laurel and then 17th Street and then the Ferris wheel at the fairgrounds.
Yeah. So that's funny because my buddy used to live on Laurel, and he's like, I live in Canada. I was like, no, you don't. Yeah, you live. There's a car.
Dude,
in the
maybe
front
he bought my house.
lawn across.
What's the street number?
Oh, so I know it was like 4 houses in on the right, on the east side, coming in off of Laurel. If you're coming west, so come down. But dude, there was like literally like a project like on the end of the street, like people like it was a project.
Like Section 8 housing.
Section 8 housing.
It's a little rough.
It's a little rough. And
Did
but
he
his
used to
house,
like charge people to?
Well, it
park
was
in
Andy
his-
Parnell,
Oh no way!
featured guest,
Oh yeah, he's coming up in a couple
CEO,
months.
or I'm sorry, COO.
He's
of,
the president
Lane,
of Lane Terralever.
Yeah, well, their office is.
They
or
used to be
was
right there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. But they're I forget where they're at now, but they moved. But yeah, that's I know that area real well because you can just go 2 streets east, and all of a sudden you're in this like beautiful.
Yeah, so you're in Encanto and it's
Yeah.
safe, and
Yeah, exactly.
for the most part. But then
His
you
house was
go,
nice, though.
you cross 15th Avenue, and it
It's a little different.
changes.
It's a little different.
Yeah.
So let's talk about. Do you have you're going to ask a quick, what do we call it, rapid fire question?
No, well, I was just asking about the
okay.
buyer profile. I can ask a rapid fire
That's
question.
fine. We can move forward.
Okay.
So you said 4 out of the 5 investors are now into the new property Karma. So, or I'm sorry, the new development Karma off 16th Street in Bethany,
Yep.
correct?
Yep.
So we know you from Oleg and Tucker specifically, who's doing the marketing and the realtor side of it. First off, how'd you meet Tucker?
So Tucker brought me a deal at artHAUS.
Okay.
One of maybe the 5th deal
Okay.
he sold to a couple, and so that's when we first met.
Okay.
And then I did a stint in a architecture firm that did his office
Oh, okay.
right there on 40th Street.
Yeah.
You know,
Which is the really cool office.
it's great. It's great. It's awesome. And I think their model is super cool. Like they're investing in the communities they're working
Yes.
in, and that's awesome.
Yeah.
right?
The relentlessly local
It's
deal
good.
that they've
It's got a good
is-
vibe, right?
It does.
We're big fans.
Their graphics are fresh.
Totally.
It's I struggled a little bit on who to hire for the sales.
Mm-hmm.
And because I had a relationship at artHAUS with a guy by the name of Will Daly with We Know Urban.
Okay.
Will was great. He was a rock in terms of selling and finishing artHAUS and did an amazing job down there. And I interviewed him, and I interviewed Tucker and Oleg and one other group. And it was tough just because I'm loyal by nature.
Yeah.
And in the end, those 2 guys in a span of like 2 weeks, they like magically they just sort of touched all the right things.
Mm-hmm.
If you had to lay out what you might want to see from somebody and have them do it, but not know what you were thinking.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
they somehow figured it out.
Yeah.
And I just attribute that to their, I think they're really strong business people that get the relationship side of business, and they have a sort of yin and yang touch between the 2 of them.
For sure.
They're good.
Oh yeah.
A good combo,
Yeah.
right?
Totally different, but the same.
Yeah, yeah. So, and I think they, I think they get me and what I'm trying to do,
Mm-hmm.
and they certainly appreciate I'm the small guy trying to do this, you
Yeah.
know, but do it making a difference.
Yeah, and those guys are extremely loyal too. I
Yeah.
mean, they've been our partners since I've been in the business basically, and they're like couldn't find couple of guys more dedicated to the business as well,
Yeah.
and doing as much as they can. And I know that they're super excited about the property. So let's talk a little bit about the property, though. So how many units is, or well, they're townhomes,
Yeah,
right?
so this is, in theory, this is a much simpler project because it's basically 11 single-family homes. Single-family, detached, fee simple, easy to finance, right?
Yep, easy to finance.
It should be easy to build.
Should be easy to
Should be, but the reality is
Yeah.
what is isn't always what is, and so it's hard when I'd assemble 3 pieces of property, get them all to say yes at the same time, close at the same time, get a loan, replat the property, go through, all the stuff. This is COVID, right? So I actually got the deal. I'm banging on the desk again. I got the deal because I put in a LOI in November of 2019, and I lost. They went with somebody else, offered a higher amount. It came back in March 2020. Right,
because
that's
of
COVID.
Coke. Yeah,
The
because
other
they
guys
backed
walked.
out.
They're like, we don't know what's going on.
Right.
So these other guys walked, and they said, "Will you do the deal?" I said, "I'll do the deal for the same number, but not your number, not your higher number."
Was it vacant land, or was it like?
No, it's kind of there was there's a couple of fourplexes on there.
Oh, okay.
There's an old ranch home when that whole area used to be citrus, and then there was a single family deal that came off Bethany. So
Okay.
3 different owners, 3 different properties, and just
They just got them all.
figured it out. Right?
What was it like working with planning and zoning through the city on that? That sounds like a very challenging
Yeah, look,
endeavor.
this is tough.
When you
I
start to
mean,
go, look.
It's just not ideal from a lot of standpoint. There's a lot of good people down there. I'm being politically correct.
Yes.
There's a lot of good people that have great intentions. But I tell you, it was not an easy process. It took almost a year to go through all of the entitlements and permits, and just took a long time.
Was it just because of lack of people working, or like what takes so long? I just don't get it.
The city is in this weird situation where they've had massive increase in demand for permits,
Okay.
and that's all happened on the heels of the last recession, where they staffed down,
Okay.
people retired,
Yep.
skill sets, institutional knowledge is lost. And then, so then they maintained a level. They had to cut services in order to maintain their budgets, right? So they're humming along. And then all of a sudden they get hit with a tsunami of work coming in.
Yeah.
And they can't hire fast enough, just like the rest of the world. And then when they do hire, they're hiring people that are inexperienced with their systems and processes, and they aren't empowered to make decisions. And these people, the new people, are often the ones that are interfacing with you, the client.
Yeah.
And yet they can't make a decision. And, a lot of it's a gray zone. The city tries to make it black and white, but infill development in particular, which Karma was, artHAUS certainly was, requires a lot of gray, right? There's a lot of working in the shadows about, what you can and can't do and how you're going to pull it off and what the timeframes are and what you have to get permits for or not permits for. So
is it because you're mixing the old with new and maybe an area that hasn't been touched in 30 years, and now all of a sudden
it's some of that. I think a lot of it is that the city's processes have been defined by 2 broad characteristics, and one is like serving home builders at a massive rate out on the outskirts of town as we roll things out, and the other is just that sort of lack of continued institutional knowledge. And then along the way, the city has made their own internal processes more difficult, often because somebody, a developer did something bad that they didn't like, so they put a new rule in place. And so when you're trying to do something good, which I claim to be doing,
Yep.
it's just more hurdles, right?
Yeah.
And you got to work through these things, and you got to work through people. And so,
Yeah.
it wasn't great. I recognized there was good people trying to do good things.
Yeah.
But it's tough.
Well, you're through it now, though.
Did you have to deal with like public hearings and like the surrounding the neighbors? Like how?
So you always deal
How
with the
is that
neighbors.
received?
You cannot escape your neighbors, right?
Yeah.
You need them to be on your side if at all possible. But I didn't have to go through a rezoning. The property was already entitled for the zoning that I put on it, and as much as possible, I try to work within the existing zoning, right? Because then it's like they have less to bitch about.
Right.
But you're doing construction in people's backyards, and so stuff happens.
Yeah.
And so I always go and meet them, send them a little letter, we talk. Here's my number, my cell phone, email. Call me, and they call me.
Let's hear about the last call. The last.
They call. So I got a very polite call just a week ago from the neighbor immediately to the south, and she was upset that we woke her up too early.
Oh, yeah.
So there's in the city and in most places. I mean, look, it's hot, right?
Yeah.
I mean, look, I go out in the middle of summer where these guys are working all day. I'm out there for an hour. I go home, I'm exhausted.
Right.
They're out there all day.
So
right?
they have to start at like 6.
If we could start at 5, that'd be great, right?
Yeah.
But the hours say you can start at 6.
Yeah.
Well, so they're they're roaring and ready to go at 6.
Yeah.
And oftentimes they might start a little bit earlier, but they're definitely there, like they're getting their stuff ready and they're making some noise before 6. Well, she's upset.
Yeah.
I woke her up. I'm sorry, but I'm going to raise your property value.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tremendously.
Sorry,
So-
but you're welcome.
I mean, you have these things. I mean, we had somebody, we were replacing an irrigation line, like this old antiquated APS irrigation line. I put in a new one, and then we hit it. So we put in something new, and then we hit it, right? And it broke, and the day it broke was the same day everybody's supposed to get water.
Oh no.
Oh, yeah.
So
yeah.
There was an irrigated properties
Everybody's
around
upset
'Cause
because
their
they're not getting
grass
their
didn't get-
irrigation, and I get it. It's frustrating
Yeah.
if you're them, right?
Yeah.
But they're like, well, you need to pay for our water. I'm like, sorry, okay. Well, how much does your water cost? Well, I don't know, but it's a lot.
The irrigation's like what, like $20?
Yeah, say we
Straight up.
It's
Yeah.
cheap.
It's like
I
the
call
so
them. I call APS and get the nice person on the phone. They're like, oh, yeah, the whole bill for the year is $224.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I mean, look, construction is a massive inconvenience to people, especially when they're not familiar with it or the challenges that come with it. And, you just have to
Oh, and you're on.
Take it
And
when
it's on Bethany Home too.
We're
So you're gonna have to
on-
put up road signs and cones
dude,
and
drive by today.
yeah. You're gonna
and
cause traffic
half the
jams.
street is like
Yeah.
it's down to one lane because we're replacing the
Yeah.
old curb and gutter on the street.
Yeah. So you're gonna cause a lot. You're gonna cause people to be 10 minutes late to
Stuff
the bar,
It's just-
restaurant that
yeah,
night.
I'm sorry.
Home from work. Jerk.
But they're so pretty. I mean, they're gonna. It really the project itself is so good looking.
I mean, look, hopefully you do something meaningful. Like you asked what I was trying to do with artHAUS earlier, and it's like, look, the premise of artHAUS was like I just felt like I can do better than most developers do, and I don't mean that like I'm better. I just feel like I could do better, and I could do better with the same set of resources. And so artHAUS was about bringing architectural quality housing to a great infill lot location and deliver it at an attainable price point. And so I did it. It was hard. It was probably the most difficult thing I've done in my career professionally, but the most rewarding professionally and personally after the fact, just because of everything that I learned along the way.
Right. That's cool.
So
when you decided to do Karma, then were you thinking along the lines of artHAUS at all, or were you just like, I'm coming up with a whole new concept?
Karma, look, every project's different. What the continuity for me is design quality, and I want to do something cool. Otherwise, I don't want to, like, why waste my time, right? Or anybody's time,
Right.
for that matter. I want to do something that has value to the neighborhood, right? I mean, I mean that. I'm not just saying that because it's,
Yeah, no, I
sounds
know.
good. It's
Yeah.
like, why, it's like, why get up in the morning and go do what you're going to do if you don't enjoy it? And I've sort of moved the point in my career where I've done a lot of things in the past because I've had to, and now it's like I feel like I'm making choices now because this is what I want to do for my career, my family, going forward.
Yeah.
Right? And Karma was just the first next project that stuck. I probably looked at a dozen properties between 2018 and getting Karma under contract in 2020, and most of them don't work, and you have to invest a lot of time to vet it out and see if it and it's one thing or another. Either you can't get the land deal, or it doesn't you can't get financing, or you can't get enough density, or the city doesn't want to rezone and work with you, or the neighbors are difficult, or construction costs are up, right? Which now I'm dealing with all that stuff, right? I mean,
it's back down, right? The lumber, at least.
Yes and no, but you want the truth on the lumber crisis?
Yes, I don't know.
You're getting closer to buying lumber, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So
brace yourself.
Here's the reality of the lumber thing, and I'm not an expert, but I know enough to be dangerous now. Lumber peaked at like $1,700 on the index that tracks this stuff, and that was in March or April. And at the time I budgeted my project, I think we were at 700. So it went up a little. And today it's been below 500 for a while, and it's a little above 500 now. But you don't get the $500 lumber.
Okay.
Because it's all dollar cost averaged.
Right.
Like these mills have all paid for the higher cost stuff because they still needed it because there's massive demand. And then it takes a while. It takes months for it to work down to the more attractive prices.
So
we're more like 1,100.
You might be paying.
1,000?
Yeah. I mean, look, I'm buying the lumber for my first 5 homes from my buddy who owns a lumber yard in Dixon, Illinois.
Okay.
He's trucking it here.
So you can get the best deal possible.
Because I can buy it cheap, because there's not the demand that there is in the Phoenix metro area in Illinois.
Wow. So that makes great sense. That why aren't people going outside of Arizona to buy lumber?
Well, not everybody has a buddy in their hometown.
Well, fortunately, yes. I mean,
that's a good point.
Fortunately, I just on a whim, because I was so frustrated with the prices we were getting. I called my buddy Steve. I'm like, hey, can you look at this and see if these guys are just being greedy? And I don't know that they're being greedy as much as it's just, like I said, dollar cost average got to come down. And he's like, yeah, you're kind of getting hosed. So I'm getting, one full flatbed a week starting September 22nd, and it's costing me $14,000 less than it would if I'm buying it here in today's prices.
Well, he's got a new customer potentially. We're going through you though. It's going to come on your bed, your flatbed. All the extra, So it's 11 single family units. What are the square footage?
Yeah,
what's the range?
11 single family homes. They range between 2380 and 2610 square feet. They're all 4-bedroom, 3-bath. They were designed in COVID, so they're designed with working from home in mind. They've got great outdoor spaces and
potential for a pool, even if you wanted one.
I came up pre-designed 3 different options for the backyard. I mean, I've done every inch. I mean, they're designed to the inch. Yeah. By me, as if I would live in it. Right. That's the way I kind of think about things.
So the use of space is you couldn't get any better than that.
I think
in your mind.
I think it's in my mind. Yeah.
What about all the details, the finishes, the stuff that's maybe more on the design, not the architectural, structural stuff, but the interior design, the aesthetics?
How do we get there?
Yeah, do you do that? Do you work with a designer? To the buyers?
Sometimes I work with and collaborate with outside designers, interior designers and whatnot. In this instance, I think it was a combination of my wife and I and my 2 interns that were working for me.
Because they're beautiful.
That really did it. You know, I mean, I think, you know, interior designers add huge value at the right moment, and my costs were going up, and I was considering bringing somebody in that had a brand already established that I think would bring a little zip to the look and feel, and you know, costs were going up, and so I took that money allocation and I said I can't spend that, and so we just decided to hungry man it a little bit, and you know, we're talented enough to figure it out.
That's gorgeous, like very clean, modern, without being sterile. I mean, like they're beautiful.
And the whole intent was we wanted to provide like a you know, 2 options, make it very sort of bespoke and well thought out, so it feels like it's a very curated package you're getting.
Yeah.
And so if you look at the collateral that we have developed for our potential buyers, I mean, our first buyer was a couple, moved down buyer from North Scottsdale. Daughter's going to be a freshman in college. Son goes to Brophy, sophomore. They drive an hour every morning to get him to football practice. And he's like, you can't get this done soon enough for me, right? But the reason I bring them up is they had bought and sold 4 different homes they've built with other home builders. And I'm not a home builder. I didn't grow up being a home builder. I'm just an architect that's trying to do some cool development stuff in the city.
Right.
And they said, look, your package is more complete and easier to follow than anything we've seen before. So what we're trying to do is also bring a good experience to it. You know, it's like Oleg and Tucker know how to do that on the closing side, right? You guys know how to do that, right?
Yep.
We brought you guys in
on the loan side
to work with us, built off of the relationships. And so, you know, it was refreshing to hear out of the gate, like, okay, your material is helpful. It's allowing us to make decisions quicker.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, it's really clean, and it looks like something that Oleg and Tucker would have done. And obviously they did. But yeah, it looks really good, and you can get the whole glimpse of like exactly what everything looks like.
And I'll attach the in the show notes the website to Karma. It's Karma PHX.
KarmaPHX.com. Yeah, Karma with a K.
Yeah, I'll put it in there so people can check out.
And it's on the the southwest side on Bethany Home, southwest of 16th Street.
Yeah, southeast corner of
13th place.
13th place in Bethany.
Yep.
Yeah. And, you know, look, it sits in this amazing little corridor now between 7th and 16th. And I just feel like that Madison Heights neighborhood is going to blow up like Arcadia Light did.
Oh, for sure. I'm surprised it hasn't yet, because it's like right there ready to go. And there's tons of people living in that little midtown, uptown. Right.
There's so much right.
Plus, there's all the restaurants there now, and
Yep.
they've been there for a while now, but things are turning, and there's more and more stuff being built right in that little
There's
corner.
great people in the neighborhood. They love. You talk to the neighbors, and they love living there. I mean,
Yeah.
it's their choice, right? So
do you think that the same? So the one couple that bought, and the other people that are looking now, is it same? Just like an artHAUS, it's going to be randomly, or it's going to be second homes, or it's going to be mostly like?
Well, look, the price point is a little higher, right? So our base price point is a little tad over $1 million, and heavily upgraded, you're probably another $200 to $300 on top of that. So it's not an entry level product, thus far the buyer profile is mostly professionals, established careers. This morning we met with two different groups, younger professionals, but in a higher paying sort of profession. They're lawyers, medical a lot of doctors looking, which sits in a great corridor, right? Because you can go south to Phoenix Biomedical or Phoenix Children's, go north to Mayo. It sits in this really great health corridor. So if you're a healthcare professional, whether it's a doc or an administrator, it's super convenient.
Yeah.
Right? Because the freeway is right there.
Yeah.
And you've got great amenities, easy location. It's sort of, it's hard to beat for the price point and the location.
Okay, so I went to ASU as well.
Yeah.
And I'm in Tempe all the time. And as you know, it's like a crazy construction, like frenzy down there with the buildings on campus. And they're, and nearby with Skybridge and everything. The architecture from a novice perspective is gorgeous. Like we were saying about NAU earlier, like ASU, I loved going to school there, but there were some really ugly buildings. And it obviously did not branch out beyond University Drive. And, but it's so pretty and exciting to watch. Do you like that type of architecture?
For sure. I mean, look, I spent most of my career was doing institutional buildings for.
But do you think they're pretty? Like, are you excited about what you're seeing?
I think many of them are attractive. I wouldn't say they're pretty.
Wrong word.
Look, you just want an environment with good-looking stuff. But I care more about how things perform than how exactly they look. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Totally makes
right?
sense.
It's like if I'm going to buy a new car, I'm probably going to buy the one with the bigger engine just because I want to be able to perform when I need to. Mm-hmm. But I'm also have, all this climate change stuff is real. And if you're not paying attention to it, you should pay attention to it and should be part of your thinking going forward about how you live your lifestyle and what you choose.
Energy efficiency and all that sort of stuff.
I mean, like, it matters. It just it really does. And I know for a while, longest time, it was maybe like, pie in the sky stuff for people. But I mean, now it's like the mainstream political, dogfight out there. And I just feel like you should do as much as you can within your means. So you should be sustainable when you can afford it, because at some point, your choices have a negative effect on others.
So when you're building a massive building on a campus like ASU, you're looking at like the functionality of it.
The function, the
impact.
energy footprint. I mean, ASU is really, all the universities, frankly, spend a lot of time in design, making sure they're making choices that are timeless in material, that are well thought out in terms of their energy consumption and footprint, and aren't going to cost a ton to maintain in the long run. Meaning 10 years from now, you're not gonna have to replace the roof, right? They're building 60 to 100-year buildings, which is a different cost, and it has a whole radically different set of decisions that go into it.
Mostly brick.
Well, there's certainly more permanence, but I said performance earlier, just because buildings perform at a certain level, whether it's an energy standpoint, how much energy they use, or how much it costs to operate them. And those two metrics are now, pretty important considerations, especially for institutional users. ASU is next to Banner and.
So the looks might be like fourth on the list of like exactly, you want it to make this aesthetically pleasing, but really we got to make sure that this thing it's functional and energy efficient.
And in Karma you saw the smart modern thing, and so I've always felt like sustainability is kind of a buzzword and blah blah blah, and I just feel like, to me, be smart, do smart things, and so for me, smart modern is my version of sustainability. It's about creating a set of choices that speak to your neighborhood, your means, the project availability, all these things together, and you just do the best you can.
Yeah.
And so it's not necessarily like that, the house is going to talk to you when you move in. I mean, it could if you want to pay for that stuff.
Right, it could. So let me ask you one more question. You're working on Karma now. Would you jump into another project right now while you've got this going on, or are you? Or are you going to let this one, you're going to get done with this one, then you're going to start your next one?
Like your buddy,
Okay.
I don't have a lot of peeps. I'm
Yeah.
smaller, so I'm careful with what I do. I don't want to get too far out over my skis, but I am actively researching the next project,
Okay.
which might be in the area you went to college.
Okay. Well, there you go. That place is booming too, by the
fresh
way.
air, some fresh air.
It's. I was just talking to a friend who actually was driving up there. Actually, my neighbor. He was driving up there this morning to do an inspection on the house that he's purchasing. That he's been trying for months, and anything that's in any decent price range, the inspections keep failing because it's so expensive to buy anything. So an $800,000 house is failing inspection. If you want to go buy a $2 million house in Forest Highlands that you're probably gonna have to fix up, you can do that. But there's only one for sale. There's only two houses for sale in Pine Canyon right now, and there's one lot, and it's like $975,000. So
For just the dirt.
For just the dirt. So Flagstaff is price per square footage up there is out of control right now. I mean, even Munns Park is out of control. So, I mean,
You're right, for a
there you go.
crusty A-frame, right?
there you go.
Yeah.
And people are redoing those too.
Yeah.
So that's a no. All right, so I have one question for you that I keep forgetting to do. If you, so I stole this from another podcast. If I was going to ask you to find somebody for me to get on the show, who would you think of? Like they would be super interesting and that I should have on?
You know who you should talk to? He's sort of, he's got unique background like me. Do you know the guys at Vintage Partners?
I don't.
Lorenzo Perez.
No, but I've heard of Lorenzo before.
Lorenzo, trained as an architect, doesn't work as an architect. He's like more developer and, all around, cool cat dude. He is doing some really interesting work, projects. He did, the what's it called? The Pomelo,
Yeah, I know the
up off 12th Street.
12th Street in Glendale?
Yeah, up in there. There's a little restaurant thing, and they just did the Arrive Hotel.
That's where like the Lucy's at the...
Lucy's at the Orchard.
Orchard.
Lucy's at the
16.
Orchard.
Okay,
Exactly.
yeah,
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah,
16.
Pomelo's the little Italian
It's Italian
restaurant.
Yeah, right.
Really good food, by the
Right.
way. That's theirs. I didn't know that.
That is
okay.
a cool place.
Yeah, so those guys
Yeah.
did that, and then they did a redo of the Uptown Plaza thing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, what's that called?
That place is unbelievable how it's changed.
Uptown Plaza.
Uptown Plaza, still same name.
Oh, where...
With AJ's
Yeah.
and West Elm.
And-
yeah.
Right, and then they've done the Arrive
Manor.
Hotel, which is, and they did the what was that steak place that did down the street called?
Down the street.
Durant's?
It's now called Southern Rail. It used to be.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
Where's
right
that?
on Camelback.
Yeah. So they did all that.
Okay.
And Changing Hands bookstores in there, and then they
Right.
did this
Oh,
Arrive.
yeah. The Newton, right?
The
Isn't that-
Newton, they did all that.
Yeah.
And now they've done the Arrive, and the Arrive delivered in 2020 during the middle of COVID. And so I bet she's got some awesome
Yeah, that
stories
place
to
is
share.
cool.
What is the Arrive?
It's a hotel.
Yeah.
Right
Like
there?
a boutique hotel.
It's an
I don't know
old
what's in there.
boutique. So they renovated one of these old, a Ramada property or something like
Okay.
that. But
Wow.
it's like right on light rail.
Yeah.
And these guys are super inventive, and they're
Yeah.
they're like a better version of me. They've been doing it longer. They're just doing cool shit.
Yeah, no,
right?
that's super cool. No, that's awesome. I didn't realize that all that stuff was them.
Yeah, happy to make an intro.
Yeah, that'd be
great.
awesome.
Thank you.
I love Uptown Plaza for a fact. I didn't
Me
know what you're talking about, but it's
too.
like there's so many cool little shops and restaurants in that little manor. We should have the guy from Manor.
I was just about to say, but I didn't know that existed
Brian
until like
North.
a month ago.
Oh, yeah.
And Paloma and I were up there eating breakfast at Ellie's, and we were killing time, and we wandered down there and went into Manor, because Paloma's like a sneakerhead, kind of like you.
Yeah.
And she was like, "Oh my God, this is like the best store I've ever been to."
That's Brian, one of Brian North's good buddies too.
Oh
so we
my
can-
God,
we
it's
can get on that.
amazing.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
amazing.
The other have you guys the LGE guys at all?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Sam and Les, or not Sam, Les and Diane. Oh, LGE. You're talking about David
LGE
Sellers.
Sellers, yeah.
Oh yeah.
He's had an interesting career.
So I actually asked Dave to be on the show, and then he actually told me I should have Baba Gahi, which is his partner with the on the finance side. So I thought you said EEG, but yeah, I know Dave pretty well, and yeah, he's done amazing things.
They've been kind of the force behind a lot of the getting stuff done in Gilbert.
Oh yeah,
Right?
Yep. They got the bars and restaurants and all that. They built all the Whiskey Row and Bevy and all that stuff down there. And yeah, that's a good one too.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I asked Dave. He said,
there's that and one other
Okay.
person I'll give you.
Okay.
And so this gal used to work with me. She's an interior designer, but she opened a yoga studio called Sweatshop over in Uptown Plaza.
Oh, I've popped in there.
Ashley, she worked with me for several years back in the day and was super awesome. And then she's like, my passion's yoga.
right.
And so she's been doing it ever since. Opened up her own shop, and she's
The Sweatshop.
the Sweatshop.
That's good. We
She's
haven't had anybody in
local
that
peep.
side.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
Might be a good little
Yeah.
We haven't had anybody in like the health,
No.
Health and wellness
world.
vibe.
That would be
Yeah,
great.
that's a good one.
Cool.
All right, well, let's wrap things up here. Thanks again so much, Jason Boyer, for coming on and talking about artHAUS and Karma and vertical.
Boyer.
Boyer vertical.
yeah.
Boyer vertical. I'll probably have to redo that. And Boyer vertical. And Boyer vertical.
You're wanting to say voyeur.
Boyer. Anyways, thanks, Jason.
I can see I chose the right name.
Yeah, there you go. Again, thank you to VIP Mortgage for letting us do this in this beautiful office. Thank you, Trey. Thank you, Trisha. Everybody, please go on to our YouTube page, Real Talk with Ryan Madrid. Like and subscribe and hit the bell so you'll be notified when we release a new episode. And again, go to our social media. We need people to go on and share and like and comment on all platforms from Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. Because in order for us to keep doing this, we need to show value.
We need,
You gotta have
support.
peeps.
We got to have people
Gotta have
supporting
peeps.
us. So please do so. Thanks again, everybody. Appreciate it. Real Talk is brought to you by Tsunami. We all know that we should be doing more videos than we are doing. And one of the hesitations for myself is that I don't feel like I do a very good job filming them. I get nervous about the way they're going to look. And I'm pretty sure that most people feel the same way as I do. So Tsunami is a product that will allow you to film your own videos, and you can send those videos via the app that you can download it on the App Store, and they will make the video look professional because it is done by a professional editing team. So you want a header, you want a footer, you want to just look better in general. And for the cost, it's unbelievably inexpensive. So if you're looking for video help, this is the best way to go about doing it, especially if you want to film videos on your phone like we all should. So it's Tsunami with an X. And if you want to find them online, it's Tsunami with an X.net. XUNAMI.net.
VIP Mortgage Incorporated does business in accordance with the Federal Fair Lending Laws, NMLS ID 145502. For state-specific licensing, please visit www.vipmtg.com/national-licenses/. VIP is not acting on behalf of or at the direction of the FHA, HUD, or the federal government. VIP is an equal housing lender.